Hello, my name's Dr. Rob Yeung. I'm an organisational psychologist and coach at a consultancy called Talent Space. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can improve team working within your team and hopefully lift their performance. Now, when I'm working with a team and the leader, I usually spend several hours with the team discussing 7 components of team working. This is supposed to be a short video, so I'm only going to talk about 3 components of team working, but the principle is still the same. By getting your team together and discussing these components, you can think about ways of improving teamwork within the team. So the first component of team working is something called self-management and participation. And this is a measure of the extent to which people are working with each other, making decisions together and having a say over what they do. So bring your team together and get everyone in the team to answer questions such as, to what degree do we have a genuine say over decisions affecting us? To what extent do we all get to input into who does what sort of work? And to what degree do we all get to do the more interesting work as opposed to just a few people doing the most exciting projects? So, for example, if you as the manager are mainly making decisions and assigning tasks to your team, then the level of self-management and participation in your team may be lower. So the team may be performing less than completely optimally. On the other hand, if you are getting significant input into decisions and getting people to have a real say in what they do, then the level of self-management and participation will be higher and therefore their performance will be better too. A second component of team working is something called team working process. So this is a measure of the degree to which people communicate with each other and help each other out. To measure team working process, get the people in your team to discuss their answers to questions such as, to what degree do people share information willingly as opposed to hoarding it and keeping secrets? To what extent do we help each other out so that everyone is seen to be doing their fair share of work? And to what degree do we have interactions with each other that are supportive or even fun, but at least positive most of the time? A third component of effective team working is called wider context, because successful teams don't just operate in a vacuum. They draw upon the support and resources of other teams and departments as well. To measure the extent to which your team is successful in terms of the wider context, ask them to answer questions such as, are we getting support from senior managers further up in the organisation? To what degree do people get the resources and support that they need to do their jobs? And are we as a team managing to collaborate with people in other teams and departments as opposed to having to compete against them? So we have 3 components of team working, which are self-management and participation, wider context, and team working process. So bring your team together and get them to discuss their answers to each of these. And what you want to do is to avoid you just as a manager trying to estimate these things for yourself. Because no matter your best intentions, the reality is that you are only one person. You will have a more limited viewpoint than if you ask the other 4 or 8 or however many other people you have in the team for their viewpoints. And research indeed shows that when you get more viewpoints, you tend to get a more accurate picture of how well the team is actually performing. Finally, you want to have a discussion about what to do with what you have discovered. And here it's important not to have a discussion where you try to blame people for inefficiencies and poor team working in the past. What you want to do is to look forwards to the future and try and identify actions that you can take in order to improve team working, the morale within the team, and its performance.